Prema Sadasyas. From time to time, I will record you a message, and this message will be pertaining to our Bhagavad Gita class. After teaching you, some thoughts remain and come up in my consciousness that I want to convey to you. So, not necessarily in a very regular manner, but definitely from time to time, you can expect some videotaped teachings from me on Bhagavad Gita. Couple of thoughts. Today I wanted to tell you about the various names of Krishna, Bhagavan Krishna, Lord Krishna, that we shall keep encountering throughout the Gita. And we have already encountered three of his names. So I wanted to briefly talk about that. The first one happens in verse 14 when for the first time the beautiful, brilliant, wise author Sri Acharya introduces in the canvas of the war front our two main characters, Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the Guru and the Shishya, the teacher and the disciple to us. And he points out how they are sitting in this gorgeous, very large, beautiful, divine white chariot, and how Lord Krishna, called Madhava here, blows on his divine conch to declare that the Pandavas are ready also for the war of righteousness. And it says, Tatha Sraiter Hayar Yukte Mahati Syandane Sitau Madhava Pandavaschaiva Divyao Shankho Pradhatmatuhu. Madhava. It's very interesting that all along Lord Krishna, who is representative of Brahman, was mentioned as Krishna. And the word Krishna itself means the one who attracts to himself. So the one who has irresistible charm, the one who is containing a mystical inherent power because of which this entire universe and all its beings seem to be without choice moving towards that one is Krishna. Krishna also means the dark complexioned one. So for all of you who also believe in how beautiful the black color is as a skin and Black Lives Matter, then I want to tell you that Lord Krishna was dark as the midnight sky. Beautiful. So there are many meanings for Krishna, but Madhava, to call him Madhava in the introduction, it's like, who are we seeing here? Are we seeing Arjuna and Krishna, who we have known all along as an amazing king, a noble king, a peacemaker, one who has had a childhood full of miracles and mysteries? Or is he Madhava himself? Madhava means the husband of Lakshmi, the partner of the goddess. Who else can that be but Vishnu, Narayana himself? So therefore, to call him Madhava is really, these are the subtleties in the writing of Vyasacharya, where just this different name by which the Lord is known, Krishna is known, kind of brings a new a new flavor into the teaching, that we are now, oh, who blew the conch for this holy war, and it was none but Mother, divine, divine presence himself in avatar of Krishna is blowing the conch. And then in the verse 121, we come across two names. And although in my next class I plan to begin from 121 again, but I will just go over the names. This verse 121 occurs after, in verse 120, Arjuna has asked Lord Krishna, who's humbly and quietly and unassumingly playing the role of the chariot driver, that he says the following words to Krishna, that can you take me in the middle of the war? Can you park the chariot in the middle of the war where I can survey both armies? I want to look at who are the people supporting me and who are the people supporting the dushta buddhi, the corrupted intellect of Duryodhana. So he says that. But he begins by the two names in this verse 121. One is Rishikesha and the other one is Achyuta. Rishikesha means the one who is in complete control of their senses. Clearly, by using this name, it is alluding to the fact that upon seeing people that he knew, his own relatives in the other side of the army, through his senses, Arjuna was not feeling that stable. And it was like it's a very interesting thing that what he perceived through his senses, and he requested, who requests with, ready to shoot the bow, the arrow. He's standing up upright, where the conches have blown, and Arjuna is about to, shoot the first arrow. And instead he turns around and says, Rishikesha, you who is in control of your senses, can you take me so that my senses can purview what's going on? Now, it's a very interesting stroke of destiny that he asked this of Krishna, because if he hadn't gone there, his senses would not have closely seen the faces of the very people he had once loved and known and hung out with and had mundane life conversations in the opposite camp. And he would not have had then a consequent emotional neurosis as a result. So because we're about to experience Arjuna's loss of senses and the kind of information they bring in, and as a result, he has almost a panic attack. It's interesting that his teacher, the Lord himself, would be called by Vyasa as Rishikesha. And Krishna himself says to Krishna, he calls him Achyuta. Achyuta means the one that is firm, the one that never changes, the one that is steady amidst change. All of life is a change. Every moment, even the light as I teach this video will change. The flowers that are blossoming in my backyard, they are changing every millisecond. Seasons are changing. Our life is like a flowing river, and no one particle of that water ever comes back to that same place. The wind is blowing, My papers are blowing. Everything is changing. But there is only one changeless witness to all of this, which is Brahman, that dwells in us as Atman, which is Achyuta. So obviously, Arjuna was experiencing the throes of what was going on. His life had created such bewildering change that the people he once knew and loved and could probably depend upon and call his family had not only turned against him, but he had to go to war against them. And so he would refer to Krishna as Achyuta. So I hope you enjoy these four names, Krishna, Madhava, Rishikesha, Achyuta. These names allow you to start getting a flavor of who will be teaching us deeper teachings. Something that is very pertinent for each one of you today that I want to share with you, that somehow we have to get over a certain childish or immature or unexamined rather or ignorant conviction that our life is all about, beauty and peace and wonderment and joy, and can I wear this talisman so that my life can go well? Can I wear this ring or pendant with a certain stone so that no problems come my way? How can I bargain at every level so that my unexamined conviction can come true? A very, very common Vedanta example is that we want the rose, but we don't want the thorns. But totality, in unity, the rose and the thorn come together. That's the package. And we think that the rose does not require the thorn, and the thorn is just some kind of an obnoxious reason or just a utility reason to protect the rose from random parasites or people who pick them. But the fact of the matter is that in Ishvara, the two polarities coexist. So I'm asking you to stretch your consciousness, as is Acharya asking you to stretch your consciousness, that both these polarities coexist in your life, and they shall continue coexisting in this dream experience. So, say you were in a helicopter and something happened and you fell out of it and you fell into a place that you were not expecting to fall into. The first thing you will say is, where am I? And what kind of land is this? Is this marshy land? Then I have to behave in appropriate manner. Is this dry? Then I have to go look for water. What is going on here? What are the requirements? What kind of beings dwell here? So you're here, and the scripture wants to tell you that all kinds of polarities exist. And this is a relative universe. So ultimate peace, ultimate security does not dwell outside us. It can only be found within, only within. So to look for absolute peace, absolute bliss outside is some kind of ignorant self-hypnotism. And then we cry and we become victims. But instead, if we can accept the imperfection as the perfection, then we are more comfortable. So talk about relativity, relative universe. So someone who's declaring a lot that I live for peace, I work for peace, I only want peace, and is obviously dedicating a lot of time to their peace, is actually getting ready to have an explosion, internal or external. And somebody who's saying, I don't care, I can explore where I want, I'm not responsible, is actually somewhere preparing to have a more inward, peaceful existence. Someone who's eating a lot right now and can get away with it is a bhogi, is actually preparing down the road to become a yogi. And the one who's trying to be a yogi will be tempted to become a bhogi. And you shall, therefore, we find that many renowned yogis have scandals because they became a bhogi. Oops moment. Oops sexual scandal. Oops financial scandal. Why? Because they declared that they live for absolute ideals, and then they try to show to the world and to themselves that they're there, and then they're toppled. But the Veda and Vedic teaching is very mature. And it says that, in fact, the quicker we understand the tenure of our journey through Bhuloka, the faster will be the drying up of the ocean of emotional suffering called samsara. And we should try to stay away from absolute statements and instead choose the better between the absolute statements and gradually, realistically make progress. I wonder if I've lost you here or you're with me. But as you continue to study the Bhagavad Gita, this shall become more clear to you. That is why this is not a coincidence that there is a battle going on, but it is on purpose. For us to understand that the various emotional, physical, fiscal battles, political battles are part of the fabric of life. And instead of running away from them, as Arjuna wanted to do, or head into them mechanically like with a script, we can become more prepared for them. Because the absolute can say, I'm spirit and I just want to chant Om, and I just want the wind to blow perfectly. I want the sun to be at an ideal temperature. So I would first of all like the seasons not to afflict me. Then I would not like the animals to interrupt me. Then I would like the smells in the atmosphere to be pleasant for me. And then I would like all my relatives to support me. And then I would like the technology to work perfectly for me. And then I can have this huge list of absolutes. And then I'm an absolute being and I have it all right. And we can just be all set up ultimately to witness that that's not the case. And Vedanta, as I mentioned to you, always begins with the reality. So Advaita Vedanta wants to tell us in Bhagavad Gita that, look, this is it. Get up and deal with the battle. But how? How? And that is why in chapter 2, what's coming up in verse 48, we learn, in verse 48 and 50, we learn two interesting definitions of yoga, very different from the definition of yoga, which is much more popular thanks to Rishi Patanjali, which also has some relevance when we want to calm our mind. But he says, yoga, chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the state where we can completely control and quieten down the fluctuations of the mind. Yeah, that definition also works because it shows that the self has mastered the mind. But in Bhagavad Gita alone, we come across various more definitions of yoga that I shall keep introducing you to. So this is more like an appetizer class for you to think, a discussion rather, more than a class, because I'm just talking to a small, probably camera fitted here. In verse 48, in chapter 2, we come across another definition that says, Samatvam yoga uchyate. Arjuna, go back and accept the reality that there are all kinds of wars happening. And but go back into them prepared with a steady state of mind. Because if you have a steady state of mind, then you will be able to know how you have to fight this war and how to be victorious in this war, because take up wars which support dharma, which re-establish dharma, because the one who protects dharma gets protected. Dharma rakshati rakshata. And in verse 50 of the same chapter 2, we come across yet another definition of yoga, which says yoga karma sukaushana. Yoga is skill in action. So don't just act, then be confused, and then react, and then take back, and then act here and act there, and just be clumsy and all over the place, the planet and the universe in your actions, in the various battles, battle of job, battle of relationship, battle of health. Take strategic action, skillful action, action where your senses, body, mind, intelligence, God, consciousness, guru, everything is aligned, and then act. So if you're getting ready to one, accept that there are battles, and instead of merely going into it on past memory-based battle warfare and knowledge, we take a pause and we go into Bhagavad Gita and we learn that we can learn to cultivate a steady state of mind and skill in action to do what? To go back into this dream world, which is unfurling battle upon battle. The battle of time, the battle of aging, the battle of microorganisms, the battle of our own gunas, tamas and rajas, climbing. Tamas tries to take over rajas, rajas tries to take over sattva. It's constant battles are going on, and even if we are in a sattvic state, then tamas and rajas from externally comes and battles with us. So with all these battles, it's best to be in a state of a steady state of mind and strategy and skillful action. So I really love how Bhagavad Gita is actually not trying to be creating some artificial goody-goody, beatific, holy atmosphere, because it's clearly declaring to us that that's not possible most of the time. Even a spiritual teacher, such as myself, has to battle, battle my own age, battle sleep, battle hunger, battle entitled students, battle all kinds of things, battle the attack of ignorant people. So there is constant battle. So Krishna, as the spiritual teacher, is interesting that he chose to come down to the level of us Arjunas to teach us what we need in our daily life. He didn't teach the ultimate truth right away. He actually taught us how to deal with the battles and come through. So, we can teach, and I can teach you the Bhagavad Gita in a very lofty manner and impress you with all the grammar I know of Bhagavad Gita. And I do study it linguistically too, because it's so flavorful. But I prefer to teach you the way I'm teaching you. I prefer to teach you sitting here surrounded by my own battles, because this is the way it becomes helpful to the listener, to the student. So it is Krishna's extreme compassion that he taught us the Gita in the middle of a raging war. And he helped Arjuna, who was confused, broken, could no longer ride his past success, could not no longer post his resume, could not use his lineage because the lineage had turned against him to get by in life. He had nothing. And Krishna taught him how to have a steady state of mind in spite of the battles, and how to have skillful and strategic action in the battle. So, my dear students, I hope this benefits you, and I shall keep talking to you